Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from Michal Krizo, I think is a very impressive one. And this is what I saw in Michal Krizo when he was really at the top of the IFBB Elite Pro. He was big, he was a mass monster, but there were so many occasions before Michal Krizo came over to this IFBB that we saw him in really phenomenal shape. We saw these crazy posing videos of him where he looked crazy dry, super shredded, and massive. And this is what we're starting to see from Krizo now at under 2 weeks out from the Olympia. Well, 10 days out exactly today, which is kind of hard to believe. But this is like the first update we've gotten from Krizo since the Prague Pro, where you can actually see his lower body too. And again, this is what I want to see from Krizo. This is better than he looked at any point, I think, during his prep for both Prague and his prep for the Olympia Amateur, where he earned his pro card. You can see crazy vascularity going through his chest and shoulders, striations everywhere. His legs look really good. Just overall, this is the drier, harder version of Krizo that I wanted to see. Like I said, I really think at the Olympia Amateur, he knew what he had to do. He didn't try very hard. He didn't waste a peak on that show. He came in almost like a guest posing for him and won that pretty easily. The Prague Pro, he was a little bit sharper, but still not the Krizo that I had seen in the IFBB Elite Pro. I've seen him look a lot better, and this is the Krizo that I was used to seeing. So I'm happy to see this because I think it really sheds light on the theory that I had. I think he was saving his best version for the Olympia. I think he knew, kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing, he knew he was going to get to the Olympia. He knew he was going to qualify. He knew he was going to turn pro. He knew he was going to win a pro show. I think he was saving that peak package for the Olympia, and I think that's what we're seeing here. I am still a little bit concerned about the shakiness in his posing that we saw at the Prague Pro, but honestly, I think we are going to be impressed with what we see from Krizo at the Olympia. And again, I do think it was kind of a surprising prediction. Brandon Curry, former Mr. Olympia champ, he predicted Krizo will crack the top 6. And maybe, based on what we're seeing here, just maybe he's right. I had Krizo in 9th, which I still think is a generous prediction for a guy that's never competed at the Olympia before, but maybe he can be higher than that. Maybe he can be top 6. I think that's a pretty bold prediction, but looking at how he looks now, I don't think it's impossible for him to be in the conversation of the top 6. But let me know what you guys think about Krizo in the comments down below. 6th, 9th, outside of the top 10. Where do you have him placing? Now, next up in the news, we've got more classic physique updates to talk about. And it seems like Urs Kalsinski is bringing the striated glutes out of everybody in classic physique today, starting with Breon Ainsley showing off an early Christmas tree at under 2 weeks out from the Olympia. I think looking very impressive. And I want to put this side by side with Urs because I think Urs's conditioning was a lot tighter than Breon. But you can see what people are talking about when you compare Urs and Breon, that Urs still needs to bring up his back. A lot of people have pointed out that his back is one of the weaker points. And even though while I do feel that he's improved significantly, it's that mid to lower lat area that Urs, I think, still really needs to fill out. And you can see that contrast when you compare him with Breon. So Breon, I do think, has the better back. But if you look at the overall conditioning and the lower body, I think that overall Urs's lower body and his conditioning are better than Breon. So that's kind of why they're so close. But again, Urs did just beat Breon the last time they faced each other at the Arnold Classic. So I think that trend will probably continue because I do think Urs improved from the Arnold. And I don't think that weakness in the lower lats is enough to keep him from doing it again. But I do want to point out that that's what people are talking about when they say that Urs could improve his back. It's specifically in that lower lat area, and you can see that Breon has that really well developed and that muscle maturity that I think with time Urs will eventually obtain. Now, I also wanted to point out that, like I said, I think Urs is kind of bringing these striated glutes and conditioning posts out of everybody in classic physique because Terrence posted an update, and while he said it's not recent, he said it's just a reminder that he can come in condition too, and he showed off a Christmas tree, some striated glutes, and I think this was from the Arnold Classic prep, because if he's saying it's not recent, I don't think it was from earlier in this prep because he looks pretty damn lean here. I think it was from a different prep closer to a show. And you can see here exactly why Terrence is so good and why he's been the runner-up as many times as he has. He's very complete. His conditioning is always very good. He almost never misses, really. And like I said, you can still kind of see a little bit more filled out, a little bit less so than Breon in the mid to lower lats, but still more so than Urs. And we did also have some more updates from Ramon. Dino, you can't really see a very good glimpse of his entire physique, but I think the point of this was to show off some of the conditioning that he has, some of the striations in his upper body, and he looks really good as well. And I know some Brazilian fans would like me to push Ramon more than I'm pushing Urs. I've seen some pushback that I am so excited and hyped about Urz's physique, and people think I'm hyping him up, and a lot of Brazilian fans think I should hype up Ramon as well. And I do. I think Ramon is going to improve as well. I think he's going to place ahead of Breon too. I think these guys, I'm going to do a classic physique Olympia prediction probably tomorrow. And you guys will see where I have Urz, where I have Ramon. And I think these are the young guys right now that are within striking distance of that top 2, top 3. I think Ramon's got a really good shot too. I just think Urz looks, you can't deny how impressive Urz's conditioning looks. I think it's very noteworthy and worth pointing out. Now, next up in the news, you did get another physique update from Blessing Iwodebu at 10 days out from the Olympia. And I think he looks pretty good here, actually. So in the lower body here, especially in this quarter turn, his legs look a little bit bigger relative to the upper body. And I still think that's the biggest knock that you can have on Blessing. He's got a really good upper body. He's got a really good back, really wide shoulders. Pretty good arms. He's got really nice peaks to his bicep and very aesthetic flow from a V-taper standpoint in his upper body. But I still think the main knock is that he needs to bring up his legs. And even though he won 2 shows going into the Olympia, I still think in an Olympia caliber lineup, his legs are going to be an issue, and that's why I didn't have him in my top 10. But I got to admit, in this update, the size looks pretty decent from the side. I think it's mostly from the front and from the back where you can see the imbalance in the leg and the upper body, the legs and the upper body rather, because his upper body is just so big and so wide, and the legs don't really taper out like a lot of other guys in men's open do because they're so big, a lot of the other guys' legs. And I think with continued improvement to the lower body, Blessing will be a threat for the top 10. I just don't think this is the year. And he's talking a pretty big game. He's making it interesting. He's going back and forth with Nick. He posted a video yesterday or the day before talking about how some of the guys in the top 5 at the Olympia are just bubbly muscle and they don't have that maturity or that dense look to them. And I think realistically, while a lot of people are getting mad at Blessing, what he's doing is working. I mean, realistically, the only reason we're talking about Blessing as much as we are in this Olympia conversation is because of the stuff he's saying online. And I think that's his goal. That's what he's doing. He's trying to make it exciting. He's trying to insert himself into the conversation. And it's a conversation that realistically he otherwise wouldn't be in. I haven't seen anybody make a prediction video with Blessing in their top 6. I've seen maybe one person have Blessing in their top 10. He's not a guy that people really are considering for that conversation. So I don't really blame him for talking this big game because it's kind of what he has to do to stay in it. And speaking of his adversary, Nick Walker, Nick did have a response to some of the stuff that Blessing was saying about him yesterday. If you guys didn't catch that video, watch yesterday's video about all the stuff that Blessing had to say about Nick. He was very unhappy about some of Nick's predictions, predicting guys to place ahead of Blessing. And Nick put on his story, there's a difference between friendly banter and just talking nonsense. That ain't it. LOL, keep it up, buddy, and Merry Christmas, referring to Blessing's comments yesterday about Nick. So Nick kind of had a classy response there. Nick also posted some more physique updates at exactly 10 days out from the Olympia, looking, I think, more detailed, more striated, and a little bit drier. And Nick has said recently that a lot of the updates, people say he looks small. He says the reason for that is right now he's just flat, and his main focus really is conditioning, which I think it should be. Nick is certainly big enough to be competitive at the Olympia. He doesn't need to add very much size. I think he needs to take a Hadi Chupin approach to this Olympia prep. And if he can come in with the size that he already has, with a Hadi Chupin level conditioning, he could be top 3. So I'm glad to hear that that's what he's focusing on. It's a conditioning game at this point for Nick. And I think that's a wise strategy for this prep. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you leave a like if you're enjoying these multiple videos a day. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of this Olympia coverage. The Olympia is only 10 days away, and you don't want to miss a minute of it, so like and subscribe. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.